Okay, so if you've been dreading certain holiday dinners lately, the kind where discussions feel less like debates and more like, well, reality itself is up for grabs, then you'll know exactly what we're diving into today. We've got this source material that examines the whole breakdown of political discourse. But, and this is key, it does it through a very specific, maybe even painfully relatable lens, a single-family Thanksgiving dinner.
Right. And our mission here is to unpack how the sources frame this. They actually use the term tragedy. We're looking at how these big political concepts, think base energization, the rallying effect, how they actually play out, face to face across the dinner table, and how that leads, tragically, to what the sources call the loss of a shared reality for the family.
Okay, let's set the scene based on these sources. They talk about past Thanksgivings, right? There are arguments then, too.
Yeah.
Aunt Carol and Mark always going at it, maybe loudly sometimes. But the key difference the sources highlight is that those old arguments, they were about policies, about ideas, about what should be done, not arguing about whether facts are even real.
Exactly. That shared foundation is crucial context because the turning point described is pretty stark. Aunt Carol brings up an article trying to support her point with some data, and Mark, well, he doesn't argue the data. His immediate reaction is to just dismiss the source, calls it deep state budget office garbage.
Wow. Okay. So he attacks the source, not the substance. What label do the sources put on that moment? Because it feels pivotal.
It is. The sources call this the erosion of a shared factual basis. That basic assumption, that everyone at the table is at least operating from the same library of accepted facts, that's gone. And once that disappears, you can't really debate anymore. It stops being about ideas and becomes, well, something else, almost tribal.
Right. And then Aunt Carol, she doesn't back down.
Yeah.
She pushes back, tries using facts to counter him. But the sources actually label her effort, her attempt to use facts, as opponent in media condemnation.
Wait, so she's part of the problem because she's using facts. How does that work? It sounds counterintuitive, I know. But in this dynamic, yes. According to the analysis, her factual pushback, her condemnation of his stance, it doesn't persuade him. It acts as a trigger. It activates what's called the rallying effect in Mark. Suddenly, he's not just defending a specific point or a budget number. He's defending his identity, his team. His whole worldview feels under attack.
And the result of him feeling attacked is
base energization. He digs in. He gets louder, more passionate, completely unwilling to concede because now it's about solidarity against this perceived attack. The facts themselves almost become secondary. The primary drive is defending his ground, his group.
And it's never just about the two people arguing, is it? The sources mentioned the ripple effect. The grandmother, for instance, she used to be the central figure keeping the peace. Now, just silent, watching.
She becomes a symbol in this framework of the erosion of public trust in institutions. Here, the institution is the family itself. The rules, the shared history, the bonds that used to maintain some kind of order, they're visibly failing. That trust needed a shared reality to survive. Without it, the central authority figure becomes sidelined, almost powerless.
Which leads us to the narrator figure in these sources, the one kind of caught in the middle, maybe trying to bridge the gap. The sources talk about their exhaustion, this feeling of just wanting to give up, check out emotionally. I think a lot of people listening might recognize that feeling.
Absolutely. And that specific feeling, that withdrawal, it's defined as swing voter alienation. But it's not about switching political sides. It's an emotional retreat. It happens when the cost of trying to bridge that gap just feels too high. When the chasm isn't just part of the landscape anymore, it is the landscape. There's just no common ground left to even stand on. So they retreat.
So the dinner doesn't end with a big explosion, just fizzles out.
Pretty much. The sources describe this quiet, heavy sense of loss settling over everyone. That quietness, that's the victory of the normalization of outrage. They didn't just lose an argument that night. They kind of implicitly agreed that arguments like that can't be won anymore. That shared world where debate mattered, it feels lost. And that quiet surrender is framed as, in some ways, worse than the shouting.
Okay, so tying it all together, if the sources frame this whole thing as a tragedy, an inevitable downfall because of some fatal flaw, what's the final thought we should leave people mulling over?
Well, the analysis suggests the fatal flaw wasn't really in Aunt Carol or Mark as individuals. It was in the system their interactions had become part of. The rules of engagement, the very way they talked to each other, had fractured. So the question for you, the listener, to really chew on is this. If the fundamental structure of how we communicate is broken, can we ever restore a shared reality just by throwing more facts at each other? Or does the system itself, the way we interact, need to be somehow rebuilt first?